And now, the thrilling conclusion.
And we may not be able to answer this question. And until we can, I think discretion lies with the people in medicine. But I think that's why Roe v. Wade I was actually in favor of, because there was like a firm no line.
Yeah.
Not everybody agreed on it, but there was a firm no line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but until we answer the question of when is it actually a life, which is probably not a scientific question, that's more of a philosophical question that everybody answers differently.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to leave it up to the prospective mother and her medical.
Yeah, exactly. That's the medical professional. Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
very good at pissing off both sides, but at the same time, I can understand the pro-life side. I may not agree with it. I honestly don't know because I don't have the information that I would need to make that decision.
Yeah, for me, it's a bridge crossover kind of scenario for me.
And that was actually one of the things I actually agreed with. And I don't agree with much on Nikki Haley, but I did agree. She was like, can we all agree? Like, we all agree that 9-month abortions are bad. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think a person would disagree with that. And certainly not a medical professional, I don't think would. That's not an optimal thing. No mother wants that. Like the idea that the image that people paint of like an irresponsible girl who's like waited 9 months and has procrastinated. No, I don't think that. Usually, it's like the person's gonna die if we don't do something about this, and it's like, yeah.
Well, and okay, so that's actually what I was touching on, but didn't really say it. So a lot of the abortion bans, in air quotes, actually do have provisions for life of the mother being at risk. But it's my understanding that there was a risk to this mother, and they still didn't let her. That's
rough.
Those are the details that I don't have. Spectrum, yeah, exactly. It's a spectrum, and Roe v. Wade facilitated that spectrum. Again, nobody loved it, but everybody was kind of like.
But it's so weird because I don't think we've ever acknowledged that it's or at least that it was a spectrum. Like everyone, I said the same thing I made a video today about Star Wars where I said something similar, where it was like everyone wants things to be black and white.
I shouldn't laugh, but I'm sorry. Your turn of phrase was funny. Yeah, you're not dying hard enough yet.
The middle ground I feel like is slowly dying. Whereas like the middle to me is the best kind of place to be because it allows you to hear everyone's perspectives equally.
See, I don't think the middle ground is dying, but its broadcasting is.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
They're not broad because I still. Oh, you hear my dog? Yeah, here. Where? Oh, there you are. Hey, they hear you. You're being disruptive.
Clickety clack 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 clack.
Yeah, I have the worst floors for having a dog.
That's funny. You're being disruptive. So okay, here's my question for you. Do you think Kamala has a better chance than Trump?
No.
Or than Biden, I mean?
I had that conversation today. Kamala Harris would do, I don't know about tremendously. She would do worse in a general election than Joe Biden. And no, it's not because she's black. Even though I saw a video, apparently Morning Joe, I can't remember her name. I know her name. It's really bad. Whenever I'm talking live, my memory fails me. She's one of the hosts on Morning Joe, and she actually said it was like, they're saying that Kamala can't do it because she's black. I'm like, no, Kamala can't do it because she can't do it. It's got nothing to do with the color of her skin.
I was going to say Kamala can't do it because she's a woman. Don't we all know you can do whatever you want in America unless it's a president? That's if you're a woman, you can do anything you want unless it's be president. We all know that.
Well, see, Kamala Harris was such a bewildering choice for me because there were so many other better options. Even if he wanted to adhere to his, she's got to be black and she's got to be a woman.
I don't know because that Roe v. Wade thing. I think if anything has the chance of beating Trump, I think that's it because that is a big.
Well, that's why Trump's running as a moderate on abortion. And the thing is, I correct everyone when they say Trump repealed Roe v. Wade. No, he did not.
No,
the Supreme Court did. Now, granted, he appointed those justices. But it's not like he can direct them to do shit. That's not how it works.
I mean, he can imply so in phone and text, but he can't actually.
He can imply, but if he gets caught influencing, that's actually a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
So.
Because I saw someone say that, like, the minute you get someone who's not going to die in 2 years, theoretically, as a candidate, they have the best choice because people. I think like the notion of your country being a gerontocracy is I always fuck up the pronunciation of that word, but the idea that like it's a bunch of old people who refuse to let go. I think it's like age. I think age is a big sticking point for your candidates.
You had Dianne Feinstein who before she passed, she literally could not.
She had to be wheeled in.
Well, no, it's worse. She had signed over power of attorney. I believe it was her daughter. So the woman can't, handle her own household, but she's voting on.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, if you sign over power of attorney to your kids, I think you should automatically be disqualified.
I believe that Ruth Bader Ginsburg tainted her legacy by not retiring.
I could agree with that.
She should have stepped down and like fought for a successor. And then, I mean, if you disagree with the Supreme Court, you can blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg for that because it's her fault. I think she ruined her. I think she ruined her legacy by not stepping down.
That's a hot take, but I agree with it.
Is it a hot take? I didn't think it was a hot take. I've said it a lot.
Oh, well, it's okay. I take that. It's a hot take for feminists. Like,
Interesting.
He pissed off every feminist that was born,
Oh, well, I think she has a very strong legacy. I tend to agree with a lot of what she did politically. I'm just saying all anyone will talk about is how she refused to retire and held on for too long. Like that's
they're going to say the same thing about Biden, but no.
They will say the same thing about Biden. Biden is going to lose this election because he insisted on running. Like they should have found a better, but Democrats have picked bad candidates for like. Again, I don't think Biden won because people liked him. I think Biden won because they disliked Trump.
Yes, 100%. That's the only reason.
It wasn't.
But ironically, I say the same thing about Hillary. Trump didn't so much win that election as Hillary lost it.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah.
But so, God damn it, what was I going to say? I want this on record because I want there to be proof of it. I had said, I can't remember if I said it on a podcast, but I'm going to say it now. And so Eric and I have this discussion every couple of weeks. So he's like, I think they're going to get rid of Biden. I'm like, listen, the only way they're going to get rid of Biden is if Biden just decides that he doesn't want to run, which he's not going to, because if he was going to, he would have by now. He dies, or they bring him into a back room, a private meeting, and they sit him down and say, Joe, you're out.
Yeah, but that would require him to understand that he's in a meeting where they're telling him that he's out.
Well, it's okay. Dr. Jill's there. She can.
Like look, man. I made so many excuses for Joe Biden going into that 2020 election because I didn't like Trump. My thing with Trump is I just wanted him to be quiet. Like that was my thing with Donald Trump.
What's funny is he's doing that now. Like Trump is doing all the things he should have done in 2020.
Yeah, he's doing that. He's being quiet. Yeah, he needs to. I need him to not. Taking away Twitter from him was like the greatest thing they ever did. Like,
is he not so much more palatable today than he was?
Yeah, because he's not on Twitter. Like it used to make me physically ill when the news would be like, and then the president said on Twitter today, and I was like, oh.
But even his speeches, and I actually said in the Obama years, I said, why does the president of the United States have a Twitter?
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't need a Twitter. Like, I understand the Twitter for like communicating official, like that, social media is where people get their information. I understand that, but like literally, every time he went to tweet, they should have yanked the phone out of his hand and kicked him in the chest and be like, "No!"
No, actually, Ben Shapiro said they should have given him, like, swapped out his phone, built a Twitter-like app where Donald thought he was tweeting, but it didn't.
They did that. It's called Truth Social.
Twitter. It was just a fake. And it would like automatically throw likes and shit up there all the time.
I mean, he did that. It was called Truth Social.
But it's so funny because Ben said that in his show. He's like, and then they did it.
Yeah.
Truth Social.
Yeah.
He was like, nobody saw it. Like Trump got to tweet whatever he wanted, but nobody ever saw it.
No, nobody ever saw that. And I saw one of my favorite YouTube shows I like watching because it's kind of led me down the path of being more moderate and progressive, and that's Some More News with Cody Johnson. They tend to disproportionately pick on the right a bit more, but he does do his episodes where he picks on the left as well. And they said that they couldn't understand sort of what with Joe Biden, why Joe Biden is doing this, because he claims it's about legacy, but it can't be about legacy because this kind of tanks his legacy. Like it makes his legacy look bad. So why? What does he have to gain from doing this? Like nobody wants him to do this. I don't understand it, and it's getting bad.
Initially, they did, and here's why. And I did explain this on a podcast. I forget which one, but if you really want, you can dig and find it. And I understood their logic. So when you have a national championship, I'm a fan of college football, and there was one season where after winning a national title, they had basically they preserved the starting lineup they had that they could. Obviously, some people graduated, but they preserved the championship team. But the first game, they got wrecked, and they made a change. So I can understand the logic of sticking with what at least is perceived to have won you the race. But when you start getting wrecked, you have to make a change, and they waited too long.
I think so. My big thing is that age thing. Like they really want, and I do believe that with Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump. I saw someone say that he picked J.D. Vance because he wants to pick a guy who will carry on when he dies, and that's why he's picked a younger guy, a greener guy. And I'm like, I maybe, I don't know. No one seems to be, like, even with Donald Trump, no one seems to be being like, yeah, he's going to be 81 out the back of this. And we've all had grandparents that go from 0 to a...
Yeah, because Joe Biden's 81 now.
Yeah. And I don't know, we've all, like, they both remind me of a grandparent, but a grandparent at different stages of being old. Like, Joe Biden's like, he reminds me of my great-grandmother the last time I visited her in the hospital. Like, and then she died a week later. Like, that's what he reminds me of like, where you have to speak louder and repeat your words a bunch. And that's not the guy you want to be president. It's really not. And, like, say what you will about my guys. I don't love all of my guys, but I don't think my guys are going to die of natural causes in the next week. Like, none of them.
They're also probably not going to mix up the names of world leaders and their own vice president.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, literally, I like, on the one hand, I'm not trying to be mean, but at the same time, he's kind of done it to himself, so I still laugh. But
yeah, none of our guys are over the age of 60. Sorry.
None of our guys. Yeah. But I mean, like, every time Joe, like, I just absolutely, and now I just expect it. Like, the fact that Joe Biden was not gonna, his own attorney general came out and said, we're not gonna press charges about classified documents with Joe Biden because he's a senile old man who means well. The same day he has a press conference to show that he is in fact mentally competent and proceeds to forget two things and then mix up the president of Egypt with the president of Mexico.
I remember that because I remember saying, this isn't helping you. Like, he came out thinking that this press conference was going to help him, and he pardon me. I just remember him being like, see, the DOJ or whatever says that I didn't do this. And then as the press conference came on, he became aware that they called him a feeble old man. And so then he started just to defend that. And he started to get really defensive about it. Yeah. It's
really,
bad.
Really? Trudeau's 52?
Is he 50? Man, he looks good for 52.
I was just going to say that almost robot-like.
I saw the thing that made me go, I saw a clip of him. I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian, because she might be Canadian, but she's a TikToker called Julie Nolkty.
She might be Canadian.
She did a series of videos about meeting myself from before the pandemic that went really viral. But she had a video where she was interviewing to be Justin Trudeau's assistant, and he was so fast. Like, just in his sense of humor. Like, I respected his comedic timing because it was good. It was legitimately funny. But I'm like, would Joe Biden have this level of timing? And I'm like, no, I don't think he would. And then I kind of went with Donald Trump, and I'm like, I don't know that he would now, but he would have. That's my thing with Donald Trump. Ultimately, is I think he's funny. Like, there's a really exceptionally funny clip. I don't remember what it was for, but it was a sketch from a long time ago where he pulls up in his limo, and like there's a woman and her child, and I can't remember what he says to her, but he says something to her. And the conversation ends, and he turns to the kids. He's like, "Okay, get in the car." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh yeah, no, I bought them. They're mine now. Get in the car." and I'm like, that's that's funny. Like that's funny. He's got and someone some more news. They said the same thing. He's legitimately funny. John Oliver, same thing. But he's like, but and he made this point. He was like, but the question is, do you want the clown in the White House? And that's kind of where that's where you stop. You're like, oh, he's very funny, but do you want the guy who's very funny leading world policy? And
I'll be honest, I actually do, and the reason being is because to be funny, you have to be intelligent.
This is true. I mean, I don't know.
Not only that, having a good sense of humor can disarm people in a good way. What I mean is, like, you can take a very tense situation, and with the right joke, you can completely de-escalate any situation.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about
so yeah,
that.
I actually would prefer a clown. Because at the end of the day, too, a really good clown understands that. What do they say at the end of Life of Brian? The Life of Brian. Something about the world as a stage. I can't remember the. Maybe it's not Brian.
It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I couldn't tell you. It's funny you brought it up because I have seen it.
Oh, because the thing is, I find the closing number so.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. My funny story about that movie is my uncle's name was Brian, and he used to live in Oregon, and so I have family in Oregon, and so we were visiting him once, and I got two funny stories. Have you ever seen the Adam Sandler Longest Yard movie, the remake?
Oh, I love. Fun fact about that: my other buddy Nick and I probably went to the theater like 5 straight times in a row.
Oh, really?
And I own it now. I love that movie. It's gold.
You know how Courtney Cox is in that movie at the beginning? Fun fact, she's uncredited in that movie. At least she used to be.
I did know that.
So she shows up in the beginning of that movie, and you got to keep in mind, my uncle was the most innocuous, just the nicest, wouldn't say a dirty joke ever kind of guy. So we're watching The Longest Yard. We're trying to figure, is that Courtney Cox? Is that Courtney Cox? We go to the closing credits.
Yeah, because it kind of doesn't look like her, really.
And so my uncle says, okay, we're going to watch this scene again, but this time we're going to look at her face. And this is from my uncle. It was very funny. But we were sitting around. He didn't have cable. And so he had all these. One of his coworkers was a not so conspiracy guy when it was still okay to make fun of those guys.
It still is okay to make fun of them.
I see. I would argue that. Oh, to you. See, I would argue that it isn't anymore because there's a lot of stuff a lot of people say nowadays, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We would just make fun of her to her face. She would never be a senator. Like when I was a kid, we would have just made fun of her to her face, called her crazy, and moved on with our days. Like we used to make fun of those. We used to mock those people, rightfully so.
Oh, I still do.
I do too, but not enough people do anymore. But
well, it's funny because somebody asked me, they're like, "How did Marjorie Taylor Greene get elected?" I'm like, her district must like what she's saying. She
apparently, because I watched that. There's a really good video about how are all these crazy people in power from Somewhere News. And it went through your Lauren Boeberts, and how good a job are they doing? It went through your Lauren Boeberts and your Matt Gaetzes and your Marjorie Taylor Greenes. And it turns out that Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually a good senator. She does good stuff for her district and then lies about it and says that she doesn't.
See, I agree, though, because here's the other thing.
It's wild.
This is why I like long-form conversations like this one, because she actually appeared on Tim Pool's podcast, and I was like, I'm in danger of liking her after listening to her talk for 2 hours.
I can't. I will never like that woman.
You'd be surprised. I'm not saying you'd agree with her, but you'd be surprised.
She's one of those ones where it's sort of like I go to him a lot, but Matt Walsh, he's the one where it's I can't listen to him talk for longer than 2 minutes at a time because he just... I think the thing for me that made me go, I am never going to agree with anything this man says or take him seriously as a serious person, was I watched the first however many minutes of What is a Woman, and he said, the only emotional support my son needs is a BB gun. And I was like, I can't do it. And
that's a shame because Matt Walsh is another one of these guys where honestly he's his own worst enemy because I watched What is a Woman. It's actually a really good, how do I word this? It's a good documentary, but there are problems.
Yeah.
And most of the problems are when Matt Walsh is legitimately making a good point, then he starts to get mean-spirited.
Yeah. I've heard he undercuts himself, constantly. And they're bad. Dog breed brands are bad.
Dog breed brands are bad. I mean, I own a pit bull.
He owns a pit bull. Yeah, bad. They're all bad. They're bad. They're bad. I
No, because
don't.
there's no such thing as a bad breed. There's only
No.
shit owners.
Anyone
And
who's
I've met pugs that were assholes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this thing over here, this is a 100-pound teddy bear.
yeah. I grew up with a pit bull. All it did was sleep on the couch, and all it did was sleep
Yeah, all she does is eat, sleep,
and lay
fuck.
and like stick her belly out for pet rubs. That's it. That's all she ever did.
That's all she does. I mean, like I tell people all the time because so many people are scared of pit bulls. Yes, there are breeds that aren't suited for the average person, but I'll be honest, pit bulls is not one of them.
Like a cane corso.
Cane
Those are
Corso,
not
like Cane Corso, Belgian Malinois.
yeah, those guys are like expert level dogs.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
You really need, well, and with Malinois, it's like you really just need to be able to devote the time because Huskies is another breed because it depends on where you live. I knew somebody that lived in Florida and had a husky, and I said, "You're an asshole."
Yeah,
because
that's not cool.
That dog is miserable every day of the year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with Huskies, like Huskies and Belgians and German Shepherds, they're so smart that if you don't stimulate them, they will purposefully find ways to get into trouble.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like, and I've met, and mine surprises me because 80% of the time she's a doofus, but just occasionally she'll do something that's really smart, and I'm just like, I'm watching you.
Yeah, but dogs. Yeah, no such thing as a bad dog. Bad dog or bad dog breed. There's just bad humans who have. But also, I do tend to
pit bulls
agree.
is a blanket term. So technically speaking, I have a Staffordshire.
Yeah.
Which actually, if anybody ever asked me a breed, which it's only happened once, if anybody ever asked me what her breed is on a foreign, I put Staffordshire Terrier because only people who love pit bulls know that a Staffordshire Terrier is a pit bull.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Anytime I hear people talk, I've seen there's a lot of people who were like I've seen who said anti-pit bull stuff that was like, oh, this is really disappointing. Like,
I never disliked pit bulls, but this is the first pit bull I've had, and I'll be honest, after having her, if I have a dog, it's probably going to be a pit bull.
That's what most people say, and it's like, yeah, a lot of times when you hear about stories where pit bulls like maul things, it's like it's usually
first of all,
not in a vacuum.
First of all, it may not be a pit bull because one of the reasons pit bulls have such a bad reputation is because they're often misidentified.
Yeah, and they also sometimes they're bred to be aggressive, or a lot of times it's a fear response.
Here's the thing about pit bulls, though. This is such an odd, like, they miss the mark so bad about pit bulls, like it's laughable. So pit bulls are, I think, number 2 in breed temperament after the golden retriever.
Oh,
and
really?
The thing of it is like pit bulls are one of the few breeds of fighting dogs where you can take a dog that was a literal fucking monster, like a horrifically violent dog, and not always, but a lot of them are rehabilitated to the point that they're like can be trusted around babies.
I mean, that was Caesar Milan. That was always his big thing. He was a big pit bull lover. I don't know. Yeah, I think it. Not everything's black and white. You have to examine every scenario differently. Like you can't just to blanket over every single dog is just not fair to every single. To be like they all deserve it.
The vast majority of dogs, and I will say this too. I don't remember where I got this. When I was a child, I got hold of a book that talks about dog body language. And it's become very apparent to me over the years that this is not common knowledge. Apparently,
no,
this is a book that was
really
not. So, like, I can read dogs very well because of this book. And there was, last year, I was coming home from work, and this giant white pit bull came running at me, but I could tell it wasn't an aggressive run. It was a playful run.
Yeah.
Tail elevated, tongue out, wagging. And I just looked at him and I went, I have a very small house. Honestly, it's too small for my pit bull. But he didn't have a collar. And I was like, well, shit. Like, I can't leave you on the street because I live in Indiana and people have guns and are afraid of pit bulls. So I brought him in my house, and the whole time I'm like, shit, and he's getting along with my dog just fine. And his problem is he was bigger than my dog. I'd wager to say he was every bit of 110 pounds.
Oh, wow.
If not more. He's a big boy. The thing of it is, though, a lot of times dogs will do things that are not aggressive, but they might seem aggressive, especially if somebody is like smaller in stature.
Yeah.
And I just knew, like, I can't leave this guy out on the street because somebody is going to take that run the wrong way. Even though
Yeah.
it's perfectly obvious to me that he literally just saw, oh, a person, you know? Thankfully, he was microchipped.
Oh, good. Oh, good. It must have gotten out of somebody's backyard.
Impressionally. See, I just haven't seen that with bully breeds. I've seen the opposite. My 6-pound cat bullies the shit out of my 100-pound bully.
Yeah, yeah. See, I always find it's weird with pit bulls. Like, I find, like, the stories of pit bulls being mean are, like, rarer than the ones of them being nice. So it's just so weird that they're the ones that get picked on, so, legislatively speaking. Like, that's what the thing is, though.
It's just ignorance, and then... And see, here's the unfortunate thing. So if you want a dog that's going to fight, pit bulls are a great breed. Because they're strong, they're very trainable, they want nothing more than to make you happy, and if that means they have to rip another dog to shreds, they will do it with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're very thick and strong, and like I said, they're good fighting dogs. But people who fight dogs for sport are pieces of shit, and...
See, I think Cane Corsos are way scarier. Those things are like a tank of an animal.
I agree because they're bigger, but the thing of it is, I grew up around big dogs, so for me, the bigger the dog, the bigger the teddy bear, generally speaking.
I mean, yeah, I like a dog I don't have to reach down to pet. I like one that can just, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to put much of an effort.
As Ron Swanson said, any dog under 15 pounds is a cat.
I mean, my mom has a little thing, and she's amazingly smart and also very dumb sometimes. Like, so I mean, I do love, and my favorite dog breed is always gonna be Cocker Spaniel. That was my dog. My dog was a Cocker Spaniel. He's like my best friend for like the longest time. It was great.
I love, so she mentioned Bostons. I gotta say, a Boston Terrier is probably the other dog breed that I really, really want, because that just seems like my kind of dog. A little firecracker thing that thinks it's bigger than it is, but is also just like ready to chill, like it's your best friend.
That's funny. For me, I need a dog that I like the Cocker Spaniels because they're so relaxed. Like they will go out and they will run, or they will. My guy, he was he hated female dogs for whatever reason. He just hated them. Hated female dogs.
See, the only dog I've been bitten by was a Cocker Spaniel.
That makes sense. Yeah, because they can be like mean.
Yeah.
My guy was just relaxed all the time, but he was smart.
No, I've met others that were chill, but the only dog that ever bit me was a Cocker Spaniel.
That's like the Dalmatian. The Dalmatian is apparently they can be very mean at times as well.
It's funny. I grew up with a Dalmatian, and she was such a baby that it was kind of annoying.
Oh, interesting. Learning stuff about dogs today.
Because dogs are awesome.
Dogs are. I'm 100% a dog person. Although we have a little, my neighbor's cat, a little neighborhood cat. His name is Lucifer. He's the guard cat that you'll see me post about. He is the nicest cat. He hangs around outside.
That makes sense.
And like he sneaks out of my neighbor's apartment. So you open the apartment door, and he's just standing there waiting to be let out.
Yeah. I will say this about cats, though. The one thing that sucks about dogs is how much time you have to devote to taking care of them. Whereas cats, I always refer to cats as houseplants with legs.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
If you put food out every 3 days and water, like they're fine. They're self-sustaining.
But also, you do get the occasional one, which is like one of my favorite jokes was like I had a cat who he would ignore me. She would ignore me. Like I would try to get her attention, and she would have nothing to do with me. And then I'd sit down in my chair and relax, and she would jump in my chest and stick her claws in my chest, and I knew at that moment that it was preparing me for a lifetime of women.
Well, so the thing about cat, I make the joke, and like it's half joke, but it's honestly half true. I say women are like cats. The trick with cats is you have to, like, I'll put it this way: if I want to spend time with my cat, I just ignore him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like it's a trick I do, and I manipulate the shit out of him, but I don't care because he's a cat. Like if I want to spend time with my cat, I will literally look him dead in the eye and then just walk away.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's what I found with cats. Cats, when they want your attention at the least opportune, like Lucifer will stand out my door and just meow. It's like I can't, man, I can't with you right now. That's funny.
Yeah, my cat likes to cuddle when I'm trying to go to sleep, and he's a dick about it.
We were cat sitting once, and he liked to get up in the middle of the night and just run around the apartment. That was his thing.
Yeah. The other thing I do is when I want my cat to leave me alone, I just grab him and like pet him very, very aggressively, and then he leaves. It's great.
Yeah. Problem with cats is that we brought them inside. Yeah. Yeah. But the, so I want to ask you about this Kyle Gass Tenacious D thing, because
so
we both agreed that that's dumb.
That's so dumb.
But who? Because the blame. People are mad at both of them. People are mad at none of them.
People should be mad at everyone involved in that, because here's the thing. So, and I will defend. I'm assuming Kyle Gass is more left leaning just based on where he lives and what he said. But, so I defended Donald Trump about it being obviously a joke. I will defend Kyle Gass the same way. It was a joke. He did not mean that.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I think it was a very dumb thing to say considering the timing.
It was too soon.
It was too soon. And then here's the other thing. I think Jack Black really sold out his friend.
He really did. I cannot figure out. There's a lot of theories there's a lot of people saying that it's not Jack Black, that it's his representation.
What I've heard is that the insurance company for the tour dropped their insurance, and then they literally couldn't tour anymore. But I don't know. This is all speculation. That's what I'm saying. It's all stupid. All just because, and here's the thing, I'm one of the few people who, I'm not right, but I get called right a lot. Like, I hate cancel culture on every side. I don't think they should have been canceled. I think it's a shame that it looks like Tenacious D is over, at least for the time being. Now that might change once it blows over a bit, and I hope it does. But that's such a stupid reason. Like, it'd be one thing if he walked in on Kyle, having an affair with his wife. That I get.
Right.
It's over. But, because he made a joke about Donald Trump getting shot at.
Well, it's like the band that make jokes about, we're on TikTok Live, I can't say this, but the devil loving Kyle against his will. All the jokes that they've made. They have a song called "The Government Totally Sucks."
Of all the jokes that they've told over the years to be offended by, that one.
Also, at this point, 67-year-old Kyle Gass really gonna come on, man.
Well, but
to quote Biden, come on, man.
Right after some people are watching this and saying, "All right, this guy's all right," I'm gonna piss you off. So Kyle Gass also should have really thought about where he stands in the hierarchy of celebrity.
Oh, I know, yeah, for sure, yeah.
He does not have the clout to tell that joke. Jack Black maybe, but sure. Jack Black has the sense to not do that.
But there's a lot of people who have pointed out that has been a sticking point in their relationship for literal years. I mean, they have a song on Rise of the Phoenix called "The Ballad of Hollywood Jack and the Rage Cage," which is literally about Jack Black, and obviously every song you write has we know musicians, has a point of reality to it, or and they wrote it's Hollywood Jack and the Rage Cage, which is about Jack Black going off to Hollywood and KG Kyle Gass getting left behind. Oh, okay, cool. No, it's all good. It's all good.
We're not tolerating you at all.
No, you are an intricate part of the conversation.
Oh, and speaking of which, I don't know if she's watching, but Haley had a procedure done today, and she is out of surgery. So.
Oh, good, excellent. I was wondering why you canceled. Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I almost didn't want to bring it up because it's I can tell you off air what it was, or she can tell you, but yeah, I just got the message a little while ago, so.
Oh, good. I'm glad that she's doing okay.
I hope you're feeling good, Haley. I know that I've been under the knife a few times. I know sometimes you don't wake up in the best of spirits. But
surgery,
actually,
no matter.
I'm a bit of an anomaly when it comes to surgery. So I'm the guy who, when you go in for surgery and you're going to go under anesthesia, they always tell you it's now when you wake up, you might feel really sick, and you can try drinking water after a couple of hours. Every time I wake up from anesthesia, I'm obscenely hungry. I eat like a crazy person.
I've never had surgery, not even a minor one.
Apparently, it's funny because especially when I was younger, my most recent surgery was a hernia surgery, and I was still hungry, but not like I was when I had previous surgeries. But yeah, I always feel the same way. I'm thirsty and hungry and irritable because I'm so
Interesting.
thirsty and hungry. And actually, the last surgery I had at like a surgery center and not a hospital proper. And I've never wanted to punch a nurse in the face more in my life
Ooh.
than this bitch who comes in like I've just woken up from surgery. Like I'm still groggy, and I had a hernia repair, so like it hurts to breathe, like it hurts to move. And she wants me to sit up and get out of bed. And I looked at her dead in the eye. I said, "There's no way that's happening right now."
Yeesh.
She's
Wow.
like, "Well, we can let you rest for a little bit longer." And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna need more than a little bit longer. You're gonna calm the fuck down."
Yeah. That's mean. Was it to,
I was
did she
just-
want
I
your
was-
room or?
And then she came in again, and I was like, "Lady, I can't sit up without pain. Like, you gotta give me some time."
Give me a moment. I just had surgery. Like that sucks.
Yeah, like you guys literally cut open my groin and repaired my abdominal wall. Like it's gonna take me a minute.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, I had a similar experience with a doctor who, long story short, I went through like multiple days of kidney infection treatment only to find out I didn't have a kidney infection, and then she lectured me about my diabetes. It's frustrating. So I get it. I'm not a lover of the medical system sometimes.
Oh wait, so are you diabetic?
I am, yeah.
Type 1 or type 2?
Type 2.
I
The
did not know
one
that.
you get from eating too much chocolate.
yeah, that's type 2.
Yeah.
It's funny because my mom's diabetic, but she has a very odd type, which I jokingly call type 3, which is basically it's type 1, but it acts like type 2.
Interesting.
It's super weird, man. Like she's an anomaly. Over the years, because obviously she's been diabetic. She was diabetic before I was born. Like she has type 1, so she was born with it.
Interesting.
But I had met her doctor on a number of occasions, and he was always just like, he's like, "Well, we're going to submit this one to the journal too, because we just don't see this."
Interesting. I control it mostly with diet because anytime they attempt to give me medication, it makes me feel ill. Just like
So
really,
are you on
really ill.
insulin or not?
They gave me insulin, but I just cut out sugar. I just control it with diet. So I eat the occasional sweet thing, but I for the most part try to avoid it. And consequence of our medical system. It gets to the point. I don't know if you experienced this, but where I've had to lie to doctors because they hear you have diabetes, and they will then okay. So I injured my back, right? I pulled a sciatica. I pulled my sciatica, and I went into the hospital in screaming pain. They did a bunch of tests, and they were like, because of your because I made the mistake of saying I was diabetic, and so they were like, because of your diabetes, we're gonna do all these tests on you. Oh, you have a kidney infection. Went through the kidney infection treatment, and it turned out, oh no, you don't have a kidney infection. You just pulled a muscle in your back. And it was like, so then from then on, whenever I went to the doctor, I would just lie and say I didn't have diabetes in order to get back medication.
Have they ever come in and said like, "Well, we have bad news. It turns out you're diabetic"?
No, because I that was kind of the moment I decided I wasn't going to bring it up unless I absolutely had to. Prior to that moment, I usually was honest about, but multiple times I've gone in for one thing and then they make it about my diabetes, and I've had to be like, look, I know I have diabetes. It's not about diabetes. Like Jordan had to go in for multiple doctor's appointments where he had to be like, don't make this about my diabetes. It's an unrelated illness. You don't need to test for diabetes. I know I have diabetes. Fuck off. Like, he had to be, like, absolutely clear, basically. It's really frustrating. Like, they become fixated on it. It's so annoying. Which is why I don't bring it up. Because it's just, people go, oh, your diet. The only time I ever brought it up was, like, organically, was, I used to work at Tim Hortons, and we're talking about donuts, and throwing out donuts, and they're like, oh, we could just eat them all. And they were like, oh, if we ate them all, we go into a diabetic coma. And I went, oh, actually, I have diabetes. And the person went, oh, I'm so sorry. As if I was dying. I'm like, I'm not dying. I have diabetes. I'm not. And this is how quickly they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. It was just so funny to me. It was just like, and I'm not dying. I'll be fine. It's like in movies when they're like,
I just can't eat a lot of sugar.
yeah, I just can't eat donuts. I'm fine. My life is fine. I drink water instead. I'm good. I'm okay.
So you're really like the perfect Tim Hortons employee because they know you won't steal.
No, I never did. Like that. But also I found like as you get older, there's that thing of like you just like chocolate less anyway, so I don't eat a ton of it. I have it every once in a while.
That's true. That's true. I actually I quit soda. I don't even remember when. I think it's been about a month. Because like that used to be my jam. I was a big soda drinker, and I thought it was going to be really hard because I tried to quit in the past. But I'm actually shocked how easy it's been.
Yeah, I haven't quit it, but I cut down. Like I have like maybe like a can or a bottle a day. Otherwise, it's water. I don't have a choice. I work early in the morning, so like I have to I had to cut it out in order to sleep.
Yeah, but see, like mine was so bad that like I don't mean to say it was bad, but like when I tried to quit in the past, I had horrible symptoms, so I was like bracing for it. I was like, well, this is gonna suck, but I gotta power through it. And now I'm at a place where, like, I'll be honest, occasionally I'm like, I could really go for one right now, but then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but I've come this far. It'd be a real shame to ruin it now.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm kind of like the anti-addict in the sense that like stuff that I'm told is supposed to be addictive just isn't. Like I can my entire childhood I had family members who tried to convince me that I was addicted to video games, but like I haven't played a video game in like weeks and it doesn't affect me emotionally or mentally or in any sort of capacity. Like it's like that with caffeine. Like I could go days without drinking caffeine and it wouldn't affect me in any sort of physical way.
Yeah, I will say
I'm not eager to stress test that though.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Is there anything political we wanted to touch on, or?
Oh, I wanted to finish Jack Black and Kyle Gass, because that the one wanted to ask you a question like internationally, the fact that an entire like arena of people like laughed at the idea of Donald Trump being shot.
Where were they?
See, this was Australia. That's the thing, is this tour was in Australia. So like it's just the idea like internationally that maybe people didn't take what was a presidential assassination. Like did they like what I guess would the similar jokes of I guess yeah similar jokes would have happened with Joe Biden. But I'm just the idea that like internationally people didn't feel. But like, do you guys is Australian politics on your guys' radar, even on your radar? So is it comparable, right? Like wow. Your guys' politics are so well known internationally that like, yeah,
Canadians are always shocked that I know who Pierre Poilievre is.
I'm not because now I know you and I know who your friends are. I'm not shocked that you are. I hey to get into Canadian politics. I don't like Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah, no, we've had that discussion. Here's the funny thing, though. I kind of like him, but I also don't live in Canada, and what I've seen of him is very limited compared to somebody who lives in Canada, and I understand that.
Yeah, he's sort of like a shittier Ron DeSantis. No. How do I?
You know what? That's probably why I like him because I was a DeSantis fan.
I call him. Someone gave me the nickname. Or I saw that call him Skippy, so I can never because I can't spell Polyev, so I just always call him Skippy. But the main thing with Skippy is he's just more he doesn't really have any like political like he doesn't have any solutions politically. He's just about hating Justin Trudeau. That's his thing. And were he to become prime minister, he would be ineffectual on that basis.
See, I'm not going to call this a disagreement because I'm sure I'm missing information. I've heard him talk about solutions, but what I don't know is, as prime minister, could he even do the things that he's talked about doing? And I'm guessing not, at least not on his own. It
would be a similar situation to you guys, where here's my prediction for your guys' election, and it's a similar prediction to my own. I think Donald Trump's going to win, and I think it's going to be by slim margin. I think he's going to wind up with like he's going to barely win. He'll win in the same way that Joe Biden won, where it'll be like a slim margin, because I think that people don't love Trump, but they don't want their president to just die. And so I think a similar thing with ours, where I think if we were to have an election tomorrow, the conservatives would probably win, but by like slim minority.
Yeah. I actually said earlier today, and I said, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but wouldn't it be a motherfucker if Joe Biden dies on election day?
I've heard so many people say that like if either of them died, it would be convenient for everyone involved. But I don't know.
I disagree with that, and I don't wish that on him. But the other thing too, and to give Kyle Gass credit, I don't think he would have made a joke about it if Donald Trump hadn't lived.
No, that's the thing. If he had been seriously injured, like if he had actually been shot, like in the chest, yeah, I don't think he would have. I think it's okay because like too many people have called him Donald Duck. Too many people have called him Donald Duck for me to feel really all that.
You know what? And Chris Christie predicted the future because he said they're going to call you Donald Duck.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did have that. So my thing with Donald Trump and the RNC kind of seems to be demonstrating that somebody in the Republican Party is aware of this. There doesn't seem to be enough of an attempt to get guys like me, like guys who are like in the middle, who are like not swayed by him. And it's the same thing with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is equally guilty of this. No one's trying to get the people in the middle. They're trying to shore up their own base. They're not concerned.
Yes, and that's what I keep saying. You don't need to shore up the base. The base is there.
Yeah, for either of them, for both of them.
No, see, ironically, I think Trump is trying to appeal more to moderates, but the party as a whole is not. So you don't really hear about it. Like again, so Donald Trump took a neutral stand on abortion.
But see, I don't know that I agree with that because if the Republicans weren't or the establishment wasn't aware of that, why parade? Oh man, I wish I could remember her name. Something Rose, the chick that the porn star that everyone's pissed off about.
Wait, she's a monster?
That's what people are saying. Other people are saying she's not. I don't fucking know.
I heard I had read because I didn't know who she was. I looked it up today because I watched. I'm behind on the RNC. I finished day 1 today.
Fair.
Day 2. And I looked because I didn't know who she was. It said she was a model and entrepreneur. So
yeah, she started the Slut Walk.
She started that?
Yeah, I think she was the one who started the Slut Walk. Yeah.
Oh, and they let her speak at the RNC?
I don't know what the Slut Walk is, so it meant nothing to me.
It's I was about to say it's what it sounds like, but no, I don't mean to say that. It is basically like I guess you could call it like a women's rights pride walk.
Oh, okay. So it's Slut Walk ironically.
Well, it's not that ironic though, because from what I've seen, I've never actually attended one, so take this with a grain of salt. But from what I've seen, a lot of people are encouraged to be scantily clad and
gotcha.
Free the nipple is a common sign, from my understanding. So
yeah, Matt. Yeah, go back to Matt Walsh was very upset that she spoke at the RNC. So like, if they weren't at least a little interested in appealing to people in the center, why parade her out? And more to the point, why have like?
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Is that not like being like, we're progressive, everybody? Look at us being progressive.
Which I'm laughing because, and again, I don't have a problem with this, but I did notice there's a significantly large number of speakers that were minorities, and I was just kind of like, wow, they're really coming for Gen Z here.
It was so transparently trying to come for Gen Z. That was my to get back to the original point. That was my point. But okay, here's my point. I don't think it's effective, and I don't think it's going to be effective. I don't think Trump is going to get Gen Z. I just don't think he's going to. I don't know that Joe Biden is either, but I just don't think he's going to.
I disagree. I think he's going to get Gen Z. I think he's going to get higher minority numbers. And this is I don't base this off of my personal opinion. I'm seeing what I'm seeing across social media, and granted, some of it's comedy, but I'm seeing a lot of posts being like, I've seen more than a few people talk about how, like, I voted for Joe Biden in 2020 and this time I'm voting for Trump. I know people personally that were like, I didn't really care for Trump, but now I'm on the bandwagon.
I don't know. I think RFK, I mean, to really quickly go to RFK, I think he's going to, I don't know. I don't, look, I'd love for him to have a chance, and I love to sit here and say that he has a chance. I don't think he does. But whose vote do you think he's going to split?
He's going to take away way more from Biden than from Trump.
Interesting. That's fascinating to me.
Well, because
I think he's going to pull more Trump than he's going to pull Joe Biden.
No, I don't think so. Because here's the thing: he's saying a lot of things that not conservatives. How would I say this? He's saying a lot of things that people on the right agree with, and people that are like not further right, because I don't want to say far right because that has negative connotations, but like people that are more center right, and I'm one of them. I like a lot of what RFK is saying. However, I think after this is the one thing that I think Donald Trump did have going for him with the attempted assassination is now there's a lot of people, because a lot of people identify with RFK wanting to basically fight against the system in Washington. Well, now they just, in people's minds, I'm not saying they actually did it, but in people's minds, they just tried to shoot Donald Trump.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. That shooter, he's so... I've seen so many subsequent pieces about him. He's so contradictory. He didn't know up from down or left from right. Like, he was a registered Republican, but he donated to Democrat causes. But, like, he was saying that he... Apparently, I've now since heard that he confessed some love for Donald Trump. So there's people who are saying that, like, in his demented mind, he thought he was helping Trump. Like, I've heard so many conflicting things about him that I think it's still too early to know exactly.
I think you're dealing with somebody that was just mentally unstable.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have been like a John Hinckley situation.
Fair.
Where it's like he thought he was doing something.
Well, but okay, so what I was going to say about RFK is so kind of like how I said that Nikki Haley was a 2003 Republican. RFK is a 1996 Democrat. So
I can see that.
So more moderate Democrats, like more old school Democrats, are going to identify with RFK way more than Joe Biden.
The thing that bumps me out about RFK is that I've made fun of it, but that voice is what holds him back.
You know what? It actually is getting better.
It is getting better, but so many of the comments are like, I'd vote for him, but I can't listen to him for 4 years. And I'm like, oh, man. Or the other thing, and this is what I wanted to ask you about, because I was speaking of Haley, we were talking about it in private message, but is he really brainworm guy?
So...
I've seen so many, The Daily Show, I've seen so many things make fun of him by calling him brainworm guy.
It's unclear as to whether that story is true, because that came to light during a divorce case where he was trying to show not mental I forget what he was trying to show, but basically that was brought to light during a divorce proceeding.
Did he actually say it ate half his brain?
No, he didn't say it ate half his brain, no.
Because that was one of the quotes was attributed to him admitting it ate half his brain. And I think it was a Jon Stewart. I saw him be like, all right then. To me, right now, the most
political violence is never in the United States, in the Western world, political violence is never okay. Because I actually had this conversation with Virus on Toon Talk. I was like, but here's the thing: depending on your perspective, like the assassination attempts against Adolf Hitler were technically political violence. So
that's I remember seeing you say that. You're right. They are technically. Yeah, I guess I hate saying civilized, but in like a.
No, I would say civilized.
Civilized?
You can't make the argument that Nazi Germany was a civilized society to me.
The thing about that shooting that I found to be kind of is like just how amped up you guys are politically speaking to an 11, where people were like so desensitized to the idea of that, like if that had happened, like even I want to say during the Bush administration, and someone had tried to go after Bush, or even Obama, if someone had tried to go after Obama, I feel like there would have been more, I don't know how to put it, but like there would have been more respect paid to it. Even to Bush, I feel like would have gotten more respect then.
I think part of that is because how minimal the injury actually was. Like in the moment, it was very scary, but once it became clear that he was fine, and it was basic, and I'm not minimizing him. I mean, the man did get shot, but it wasn't raised to the ear, you know.
Well, that was one thing where they said, or depending on who you talk to, he didn't actually get shot. It was just debris from the teleprompter.
I think that's kind of unimportant, but judging by what the injury looked like, I would probably agree with that. Considering the rounds that were used. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, to the minimal injury that he sustained, which I'm not trying to downplay it.
He sure milked it though.
Like if he had lost an eye, we'd be having a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
If he'd, been seriously injured, we'd be having a totally different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is the senator who is eye patch guy?
Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw. Okay, because when I saw JD Vance, I'm like, isn't he eye patch guy? No, it's Dan Crenshaw.
Oh, but I did want to shout out Matt Gaetz for being the world's biggest douchebag once again.
Oh my god, him heckling what's his face was the fucking funniest and saddest and most pathetic thing I'd ever seen. It was great.
I mean, you're kind of right, Jordan, but at the same time, I don't think that. Well, I guess you're right because hindsight is 2020, and we won the war. I'm sure that if Adolf Hitler had been assassinated, but somehow Germany managed to win, it would have been a day of mourning for that everyone would still observe. So yeah, I guess perception is it. But yeah, I've never liked Matt Gaetz, and every day I start to think he might not be such a bad guy. He opens his mouth again.
There was a few moments during his during the whole Kevin McCarthy thing where it was like the worst person just said an accurate thing. There's so many of that where it was like, you just agreed with the worst person you know. My thing is like.
So here's the other thing about Matt Gaetz. Did you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I've watched like the first 5. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so you know that when the vampires turn vampire, how their face changes?
Yes, yeah.
That's what Matt Gaetz looks like, and I can't.
You're so right. My thing with Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, why are they allowed to stick it out, but yet poor Lauren Boebert gets felt up at a Beetlejuice concert, at a Beetlejuice play, and she's never gotten they are desperately trying to take her down, and it's just. I don't think she's going to survive this election. I truly don't. I think of those three, we're not going to.
I don't know that Matt Gaetz probably will. But my biggest problem with Matt Gaetz is why he ousted McCarthy, and I'm just like, dude.
I mean, okay.
You're so visibly transparent about it. Now that it's out, it all makes so much. Because when it happened, I was like, why is he doing this? I don't understand. I know what he's saying, but it doesn't make sense.
Wasn't it because Donald Trump wanted him to?
No, it's because he was being investigated by the ethics committee.
I mean, yeah. Well, that's what Kevin McCarthy said. He was like, all because of that ethics, but it didn't make it. Did it make it go away? I don't know. I'm constantly surprised he's still in Congress.
Well, apparently it did temporarily, but I think McCarthy actually said that it's going to be picked back up because you can't just dismiss that.
It's like how every week they talk about how. So does being censored, that's effectively meaningless, right? Because every week Marjorie Taylor Greene gets censored in Congress. I'm like, how come she just hasn't gotten kicked out yet? I don't get it.
Well, she got kicked out of her committees, but you technically can't kick out an elected official without impeaching them.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can be removed from committees. And the logic with that is because there was that George Santos guy who basically lied about who he was.
Yes, he did.
And they couldn't expel him from Congress because he was elected. Now, the right thing to do would have been to resign because and I think he could have been sued to be removed, or I guess impeached. I don't know if impeached is the correct term, but it's basically an impeachment.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I was thinking it was the rest of them could just vote and be like, yeah, you're out. you're pain in the ass. You're out.
Well, but I mean, he defrauded the voters, so I mean, there were actually legal implications there. Marjorie Taylor Greene can't be removed from office just because she pissed people off.
Just because you don't like her, yeah, I suppose. I just don't get. My thing with a lot of your politicians is they're just annoying, and at a certain point, you think you'd get sick to death of with Donald Trump, my thing with him is you think there's a certain moment where you get sick to death of constantly having to be no, that has to get exhausting, constantly.
I don't think for him because I think he lives for it, but yeah. And unfortunately, there are incentive structures in place for people to be loud and obnoxious to get noticed because the people that really get shit done are the people you've never heard of.
That's just it, yeah.
Before Mike Johnson was Speaker of the House, I'd never heard his name. Kevin McCarthy too. I'd never heard their names before until they were nominated Speaker. And then I looked up Mike Johnson's record, and I'm like, huh.
I don't like him because I disagree with him ideologically. That's my thing.
And that's fair. But the point being is whether you love it or hate it, most of the stuff gets done in the dark.
Yeah. Well, he almost got taken down. That's my thing. I think I saw someone say this. A lot of those guys are more concerned with being on Facebook or on TikTok than they are with There's more of a concern in your, and this doesn't happen. Well, it kind of because you've got your Pierre Poilievres who want that, but we don't really have that here. Where these new politicians who just want to be celebrities. Like I saw a clip of the RNC where it was like Mike Johnson taking pictures with people like he's fucking Tom Cruise, and I'm like, what is this bullshit? Like, what is any of this?
He's not even one of the worst ones. You've got like your Matt Gaetz's, your Marjorie Taylor Greene's, your AOC's, your Ilhan Omar's, the Cory Bush. There's a ton of them.
But the thing with your and I don't necessarily always agree with AOC or Ilhan Omar, but like I also think that there is a line of like there's a level of, in order to appeal to Gen Z, which they're the next generation, they're the most important voting bloc right now, in my opinion. There is a level of you have to be present on the internet in some way, and I think they understand that more than I think your Mitch McConnell's do. For example,
well, yeah, but Mitch McConnell's not. I think
is he going to die in office? I think he'll die in office. I'm pretty convinced he's going to die in office.
No, he said not that long ago that he was going to retire soon.
Yeah, I mean, all right.
Oh no, he said he wasn't going to seek re-election, but he wasn't going to finish out his term.
Yeah, he was gonna. Well, he wasn't. I thought it was that he wasn't gonna. He stepped down as the leader, but he was still gonna. Yeah, he stepped down
as the leader, but then he said he wasn't going to seek re-election when his term was up.
I don't know. Yeah, there's the thing for me when I was like, man, you guys have a problem. Was not so much. It was January 6th, but it wasn't the part of January 6th you're thinking. It was the part after the part that you're thinking, where half of your senators now had to be up past 9 o'clock to do the confirmation, and half of them were falling asleep. Like, I will never forget that. Like, because I stuck around because I wanted to see, how is this going to play out? And the rest of that confirmation, like most of the senators either couldn't finish a sentence or like there's some of them it seemed like they couldn't read, and like there was a few of them where they were literally doing this. Like the camera would pan across them and they were all falling asleep because it was like it had to be past like midnight, like your guys' or because I think I was on the East Coast.
It was way past their bedtime.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think the vast majority of them had been there for like since the early hours of the morning. So,
but that was the wildest part where I was like, yeah,
and I can attest to this. And you had a very, very scary and stressful situation. That will take it out of you. And then especially once you know everything's calmed down, and then your body is like, okay, we're no longer in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Oh.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You'll crash.
True.
I can't believe I'm defending politicians.
I'm one of those people that believes that politicians should make the same as you and I do. Like there should be no incentive, financially speaking, to be a politician. They should be regular people because it's supposed to be a job of the people.
You know what's funny is I agree with the sentiment, but I don't, because I'll be honest, they've kind of tried that, and all they do is make money on the side. So I think that particularly the president, I think the president and members of Congress should be paid obscene amounts of money. And here's why. Because if there's financial incentive to do the job, you are going to get the best people to apply for said job.
That's fair.
It's going to be extremely competitive. And I'm pulling a number out of the air here, so I'm not suggesting we pay, but like if the president made $1 billion a year, like there are people that are very, very good administrators that would be like, yeah, I'll do that job for $1 billion a year.
But my counter that would incentivize maybe the wrong people to be.
It would, but if you have multiple people vying for said position, generally speaking, the cream rises to the top.
Because I think guys like Donald Trump, I don't think he's ever going to understand what it's like to be me, like me,
right?
But in my shitty like 2-bedroom apartment. I don't think he's ever going to relate to me. So him being president.
To be fair, though, I don't think there's going to be a presidential candidate ever again that will understand what it's like to be there.
I don't. Yeah, I think salt of the earth is
the path you have to be on to even get to where you can run for president of the United States is fairly affluent.
Yeah, well, I think the last really great gasp of like salt of the earth president you guys had was probably Obama, and even he drank the water in Flint, Michigan. So like, you know, I'm just he dropped the drones, the bombs on children. So like, he wasn't a great guy, and he was the best guy you guys probably, other than maybe, I don't know. Yeah, who would you say? Because I'm not super familiar with presidents. Was the nicest president?
The nicest president?
Yeah, like just like genuinely like he was a good guy. Like 100%.
That's funny because I can answer who I thought was the best president, but the nicest?
I would have said JFK, but then I learned about JFK.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say JFK.
That man liked his poon.
I'd have to think about that one. Maybe Reagan. Reagan was a pretty nice guy.
You think? I don't know, man. He didn't love the people of color so much.
Okay. Well, then you kind of. I hate to say it this way, but you almost have to kind of like forget that because there aren't that many to choose from.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. I would have said maybe Lincoln because it's hard not to be like.
Nah, but Lincoln could be a real dick though. I mean, granted, probably provoked, but.
Could he? I don't know. My image of Lincoln is Daniel Day-Lewis from that one movie, so like maybe my image is a little skewed.
Maybe Jimmy Carter. He always struck me as a
yeah, I always forget about Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was like a good old boy. Yeah. I saw a good old boy, like he was a Christian, like everyone. Yeah,
horrible president, but a very, very good human being.
He followed Nixon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did a lot of like he had to apologize for Nixon. He did a lot of that.
No, I'm sorry. Ford followed Nixon.
Ford also strikes me as being like, but again, all of my shit with all comes from TV. So like when I think of Gerald Ford, I think of that episode of The Simpsons where George W. Bush moves in next to Homer Simpson. Like, it's Gerald Ford. Oh, Gerald Ford. I think we're gonna get along just fine.
But I would say the best president was Calvin Coolidge, but definitely not the nicest because Coolidge had the reputation of not necessarily being a dick, but being kind of cold.
See, like I mean, when it comes to presidents, I mean, I grew up with Clinton. Like Clinton influenced so much of my childhood. Like he's always going to be the guy doing sax in the Animaniacs intro. Like that's always going to be Bill Clinton to me. But yeah, so prior to Clinton, I don't really have, and Reagan is like Reagan, and then that's it. And obviously, Nixon because of I'm saying that when the president does it, he is not a criminal.
Yeah, he did the thing.
Also, Frost Nixon, the movie that Virus was talking about on Toon Talk last, that's about the interview. That's where Nixon says that very famously. That was the movie that he's talking about. It's Frank Langella. I think I pronounced his name wrong. As Nixon, and I can't remember who plays Bobby Frost. It's a good movie. It's a good one. That was a solid choice. But yeah, that's where that quote comes from.
So unfortunately, my phone is dying. But I hope.
Oh, that's totally fair. Mine is too. Yeah, I know.
I hope I answered some of your questions satisfactorily.
I think so. I always enjoy.
We should definitely do this again.
Yes,
this was fun. You know what we could do too? I believe now, and it might be a trick to do it, but I believe now you can save your lives. What might be
interesting.
What might be fun is if we can figure out how to do that. Is let's split it up and we can put half on put the first half on your channel and then the second half on my channel.
Cool. I mean, I don't know. Do I get this? I think I get this.
I think you have to log into Live Studio.
That's good to know.
But it should be there. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there anything else I wanted to mention to you while I have you really quickly. I have to watch Star Trek. Wink.
Oh yeah.
Oh, real quick. I'm gonna make this joke when we eventually record it, but I'm gonna give it to you now. The one thing I want to learn going into this because I've never watched Star Trek. I've never watched the original series. I want to know where the image of William Shatner talking like this. There's something on the plane. Where does that come from? I'm so fascinated to know where that comes. Is it indeed in the original show? And where that's the question that I'm going to be asking myself. Like, where did that idea that he talks like that come from?
So it's them just dialing up his manner of speaking in that role, but dialing it up to like 200.
Interesting. There's so many. I'm genuinely very excited to. It's funny when you asked me to do it. I'm like, I've never watched Star Trek. I have kind of a family history with it. I'm really excited to like dive into that. That's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. And by the way, you have 1,300 likes.
Oh, sweet! Wow, that's a lot. That's Jordan. Just rapidly tapping and not paying attention. Also, I know I mentioned it. He hasn't gotten back to me. I may have a podcast for you.
Oh yeah. You had mentioned that.
I haven't pitched it to him yet, but I'm gonna because I think just real quick. He's a musician. His podcast is about what he says it's going to be about. He asked me to do the pilot, but it's going to be about like filming or interviewing professionals about what they do. And he's a rapper. He does music and stuff.
Oh,
So
nice.
I think he'll fit right in with our vibe. So I'm gonna pitch him. I'm gonna pitch him the spiel.
That he will, absolutely. Well, buddy, I don't want it to cut off, so
No, it's all
I'm
good.
gonna get off here, but it's literally going to die in a second. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Justin from the future here. I know this isn't what we normally do here, but I enjoyed talking to Jake, and this was just a fun conversation. But if you're like, hey, this is part 2, where's part 1? If I understand what I'm doing correctly, if you click on Jake's face, or Jake's side, that should take you to his page where you can watch the first part. Or if you're like, oh, boo, yuck, politics, you can click on my side and watch one of the many episodes of me and Jordan's podcast or one of our other videos. But yeah, click around, hang out. I'm trying something different with an end screen thing with a voice. So yeah. Thanks for watching.